When somebody says something to you that is illogical but popular, that you have the capacity to say no.
Yeah, well, I mean, the gender issue is really an interesting one, because one of my professional domains of expertise is individual differences. I'm a personality psychologist, and so I know the gender difference literature. If gender differences decrease among more egalitarian societies, then the gender differences are sociocultural, or at least more sociocultural. That's exactly the opposite of what was found repeatedly.
I want to talk a little bit about a division that is also now breaking out among those of us who I think would consider ourselves friends of the Enlightenment.
My sense is that the Enlightenment values themselves are grounded in an ethos that's much deeper and much less articulated. The rough idea would be that the left hemisphere generates paradigmatic systems. So that would be like the Enlightenment system, axiom predicated, right? Even stateable axiom predicated. But that entire axiomatic system is based in a nonverbal, in the nonverbal domain that's associated with, well, it would be associated with the right hemisphere, but it would also be associated with deep motivations, biological motivations, and emotions.
Why is it that the Enlightenment only arrives at one time in human history, in one place in human history, as opposed to if human biology is essentially consistent across, across humanity?
It took human beings a very long time to evolve their hierarchies, to evolve their structures of success, and then to have enough people around with enough spare time to engage in the cultural process of the artistic cultural process of mapping the adaptive structure. And so then out of that starts to come the semantic codes. Well, then you get the Enlightenment.
Are you attributing the growth of the Judeo-Christian ethic that emerges into the Enlightenment as also accidental? You're just pushing the timeline further back?
No, I don't think it's accidental.
Okay.
Like, if you put enough people together in enough different places, the commonality of the groups of people, there, because of the grounding in common motivation and emotion and embodiment, because we're embodied, means that they're going to generate hierarchies that are broadly similar, with strategies of success within those hierarchies that are broadly similar, with descriptions of the strategies that are broadly similar.
This gets to, I think, the broader question that I know you and Sam went on for 3 hours about the nature of truth, because particularly truth in the moral sphere.
The question is, to some degree, why do scientists accept the idea that objective truth is true? Because I would ground that in pragmatism. No, I don't know if we would consider scientific truth true unless we are also simultaneously accepting the idea that scientific truth is good for people. So there's one other thing I wanted to bring up that's relevant, because you brought up the idea of God. When God is using the word and he creates cosmos out of potential, and every time he does that, he says, and it was good. Which is, I think, it's so interesting because there's a proposition there, and the proposition there is that if you encounter potential with truth, the cosmos you create is actually good. Well, that's just an absolutely overwhelming idea. It's like, if it's true, it's the greatest idea there ever was. So you might say, oh, well, it was human female conscious choice that selected us. Okay, and you think, well, that's not random. That's not random at all. It's the farthest thing from random that there is. And that means consciousness is making its choices with regards to what propagates. And so then what you get is that the consciousness that through its active expression transforms the potential of the world into actuality also selects the direction of evolution.
Obviously, if you make the hard determinist argument that free will doesn't exist and that consciousness is merely a sort of trick that your brain is playing on itself, then how does culture propagate?
How do you reconcile the fact that if you lay out a society at every level of analysis on strict deterministic grounds, it fails? So doesn't that mean your hypothesis has a flaw? We have to treat each other like divine centers of consciousness in order for society to work.
Yes.
And I think, well, I can't see any way out of those arguments.
Yeah, I can't either, obviously, which is why you and I agree on so much about this kind of stuff. And your whole goal is to tell people exactly how it is that they can clean up their rooms, as your famous phrase goes.
Yeah, well, they might as well start with what's right in front of them. It's a lot harder than it looks. Try it out on a local scale first, right? You don't want to go out there and change the system. It's like, what the hell do you know? Leave the system alone. See what you can do locally. The brilliant commentators on the 20th century totalitarian states and all of their atrocities said the same thing over and over. It isn't top-down evil leader manipulating innocent masses. That's not it. It's the moral failings of every single individual, unwilling to say their truth, unwilling to act out what they know to be right, that accumulate and produce the catastrophic state. So it isn't just that you have to fix up yourself so that, you can have a better life. It's like, who cares about you for a moment? It's you have to fix up your life, because if you don't, every time you make a mistake that you know to be a mistake, you're leading the world toward hell. And I believe that. I think it's true.
Well, Jordan Peterson's book is 12 Rules for Life. Honestly, we could do this all day long, and we'll certainly have you back. I really appreciate the time. There's a reason so many people follow Jordan. There's some reason so many people are buying this book. The book is fantastic, and his other book, Maps and Meaning, is also fantastic, so go out and get a copy of that as well. Jordan, thanks so much for stopping by. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben. It was great. Yeah.